Hi guys, Lindsay here with Storybook Family Farm. Today I wanted to talk about inflation. Um, if you are new around here, me and my wife homestead on this 2-acre property. We actually just bought it within the last couple of months. It is a major fixer-upper, so there's a lot of random things like a freezer door just kind of laying around. That's partially how we were able to afford it because there's lots of trash here. But anyways, so I want to talk about inflation a little bit. Um, Me and my wife have been together for 10 years, and for basically almost all of those 10 years, we have been really, really, really struggling financially. We've always been a very poor family. We've always had enough to get by, but that is because of learning at a very necessity pace to basically stretch every single dollar. And I figured that now is the time that maybe I should share some of the things that we've done to basically be able to raise 3 kids on not that much money. Um, we are a very prideful bunch, and we do not like asking for help at all. So we never really tried to get on like food stamps or have any sort of government assistance, or even really let anybody know just how much of a struggle we went through. Um, I don't know why we were always that way, but we were. So, yeah, we've gotten wiser as we've gotten older. We still don't ask for help that often, but we do let some people know, like, hey, things are tough. Um, but, anyways, so some of the things that we did to basically curb inflation, and mind you, this is stuff from like 8 years ago. Like, we only have one kid at home still. The other two, our youngest is 16, so you figure this has been a long time coming. It has nothing to do with 2020. None of these skill sets really do. Um, so this is something that's been very tried and true, that even when we're not in some sort of weird reality, still works. So one of the first things that we started doing was we started really cooking from scratch. Not like crazy baking bread from scratch. I mean, I bake bread now, but that was a skill set that I learned in 2020 before there was bread shortages. I just had always wanted to learn how to bake bread and had never had homemade bread. So I was like, this sounds like the perfect time to do something. So I learned how to make bread, which I now sell at a farmer's market. So it's kind of one of them skill sets that really paid off, literally. Um, and on the scale, it kind of did a number, but that's okay. Um, but anyways, so one of the things that we learned was to really cook from scratch. Um, it's so much more convenient to just buy like a frozen TV dinner or frozen pizza and stuff, especially when you're tired. Like you don't really want to mess with like cooking and stuff. But it got to the point where it was like, you know, that $12 that we just spent on feeding everybody frozen pizzas. Mind you, this was pre-super inflation time. Um, Nowadays, you can get one of those little Totino's pizzas for practically $12 that taste like cardboard. But I know I'm exaggerating, but it's kind of comical the way that the world has turned out to being. Comical, not in like the funny way, but like really sad. Like that makes you want to cry and weep inside. But instead, so you just kind of laugh hysterically at all the madness. That's kind of my go-to thing. Like if somebody gets hurt in front of me, I nervously giggle. So not necessarily a funny topic, but that's the type of person I am. Anyways, so what we learned is that $12 that we spent on frozen pizzas for everybody, we could have bought enough of like potatoes, meat, and like a loaf of bread to feed our family for a couple of meals for that $12. And then it really got us thinking about a lot of different stuff. So over the years, we started to try to buy stuff more in season, like wait for when the butcher shop would have chicken breasts on sale. And like the prices now like are just, they're so unrelatable for us because since we homestead, we raise a lot of our own meat and most of our own vegetables and produce and stuff. So it's very different. I don't know what the actual prices of a lot of meat are now because we hunt and we do a lot of different things. I just know that it's absolutely astronomical what the prices of stuff are. Because the few things that we do get from the store, I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine if we had to buy vegetables too? And Tracy, my wife, is always like, we'd be dead. We would not survive. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But so yeah, I figured I would just real quick, try to explain some stuff. So one of the things that you can do to try to help curb inflation is to cook from scratch, and to buy things that are in season. And I know that, like, I live in Ohio, so northern hemisphere, eternal optimist. That's why I wear Cleveland Browns, because that's the type of person I am. I always am rooting for the underdog and the loser, and that maybe one day magic will happen in the world, and yeah, whatever. So you guys can dog on me all you want for being a Browns fan. I don't have time to watch football anymore, and this shirt is very comfortable. Um, but anyways, so cooking from scratch really, really, really helps a lot, even if it's just buying vegetables that are in season. And since we live in Ohio, there is a legitimate growing season. It's not like some places that they can just grow food all year long. This is not one of them places. So learning what the different seasons are and when things are available to purchase for a decent price is very, very important. And then, like, June is a very common month for strawberries. June and July, those are really big strawberry months around here. So one of the wisest things that you could do if you really love to have strawberries is to buy a massive amount. Buy whatever you can afford of the strawberries, and then freeze them or can them or make jams or dehydrate them. Do something to basically preserve the harvest. And obviously, if you're able to do a gardening is like basically getting food for free. A small amount of work gives you a heck of a big return, especially in terms of food security and just really good quality food and super cheap. We are a very frugal bunch of people because we've had to be. We've had no choice but to be very frugal. I am partially disabled, so I can't work full time. My wife works full time, and we raise 3 kids on a very, very tight budget. So it's definitely been a challenge. But if you can't have a garden for some reason, whether it's that you don't want to, or you don't have enough space to, or you just I have no idea what else you could use it as an excuse, besides you don't want to, because there's kind of a thing of where there's a will, there's always a way. But more on that for another time. So having a garden is one way that you can save a massive amount of money. And if you have the space and the time and energy to have a garden, you should have some chickens too. They make really delicious eggs. And rabbits are very quiet, and you can raise them for meat. But those are just different spin-offs of extreme frugality. That's basically our lifestyle of homesteading, is just doing everything for super duper cheap and finding the cheapest way to get deliciousness and nourishment into your belly. But anyways, so finding things that are in season and buying enough of them to last you throughout the entire winter is one way to really stretch your dollars. The other way is to cook from scratch. Like, instead of buying a loaf of bread for, I think decent loaves of bread are probably like $4 or $5. Not sure. I've been baking my own bread since 2020, so I haven't bought any bread. We do occasionally buy buns. So I think that those are like $4 for an 8-pack of hamburger buns at the Dollar General store. Not quite positive. So don't quote me on these prices. Plus, they might be different where you're at. But so for that $4 that we spend on, say, buns, you could buy a few pounds of flour. I do believe you could still buy a 10-pound bag of flour for like $5 or $6. I buy it in bigger bulk, so I'm not exactly sure on the prices of that. But to make a batch of bread dough, like the bread dough that I make, that makes 3 large artisan loaves of bread, it only takes 3 cups of flour. That's not even a pound of flour. So if you switch to making something simple like bread on your own, then that saves you a ton of money. And you can basically eat it as much as you want. You can gorge till your heart's content, just by cooking it from scratch. And you could branch off into making noodles and so many other things with just some flour. YouTube is a beautiful thing. I actually learned how to bake bread from YouTube. A lot of people think that's kind of crazy, but that's how we've learned how to do everything. I mean, in this day and age, you might as well. You've got it at your disposal. That's the greatest thing about the time that we're living in. Even though the times are very difficult, we have all of the collective knowledge of humanity throughout the entire evolution of humanity all on our phones. So I mean, you can literally learn how to do everything. So it's very nice for people like me that love to jump down rabbit holes. But anyways, I'm rambling on about this. So back to inflation. The other things that you can do besides cooking from scratch and raising your own food and buying things in season from farmers markets is to look for things used. When I was younger, I used to very much shy away from going to Goodwill or anything like that because I thought like, ugh, they just have old lady clothes there. And they used to not have very trending clothes because places like, like resale used clothing places, people used to actually get money for their clothes and they would take them there instead of taking them to Goodwill. But now you don't get hardly anything, so most people just take it to Goodwill anyways, at least in my area. And if Goodwill's not like a national thing, like a Salvation Army or used clothing store, where you just donate stuff and then people buy it for dirt cheap and the money somewhat rolls back into the community, is what that is. But anyways, so buying clothes at Goodwill is a great way to save money on clothing. Another thing that you can do is look for garage sales and yard sales or stores that sell stuff like surplus things for cheap. There are quite a few different stores in my area, not like close by because I live in the sticks, but there's a store called Ollie's that has a lot of really good stuff for cheap, like rugs and flooring and some food stuff and just some random. It's kind of random. It's like a Big Lots. Big Lots used to be cheap, but now they're kind of pricey too. But those are some of the things that you can do to really stretch your dollars further. And learning simple skills like sewing so that way you can mend your clothes when they lose a button instead of buying something new. Those sorts of things are really, really helpful. Where Tracy works at, she works in a factory, so she frequently gets holes in her clothes because of catching them on machines and whatnot. And since I learned how to sew, I've saved us probably hundreds of dollars over the years just by being able to stitch up the holes in her pants and patch them. And they're just pants that we've bought at Goodwill, but if you can make pants from Goodwill, $5 pants from Goodwill last so that way they're good for 3 years versus having to every few months replace them, I mean, that adds up over time. And I know that the things that I'm talking about, they're only saving $1 here or there or just a couple dollars here or there, but if you implement a lot of these, and add in the true price of things with inflation, because like I mentioned, I don't buy a lot of stuff at the store, so I don't know what the prices actually are of a lot of different things. And just because they're priced one way in my rural area does not mean that they're priced the same way anywhere else. I mean, I could go on and tell you all about the price of chicken feed and rabbit pellets and goat feed and hay and all the farming type stuff and canning lids and the stuff that I use all the time, but like I haven't bought new clothes except for like underwear and bras and socks. I haven't bought new stuff in a long time, but I mean, the packs of undie pants, they're ridiculous now. Like, I think everybody's probably going to in the future start going commando or find leaves or something. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like, I was like, man, do I really need to wear these? Like, this is kind of pricey. But yeah, I probably shouldn't admit that on camera because Lord knows my parents are probably going to watch this and my grandma and they're going to go, oh, Lindsay, what do you need for Christmas? But anyways, if you guys are enjoying my content or would like to know more about different things that we've done, like to dive deeper into different things that we have done to curb inflation or have any questions, general questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. If you are enjoying this content, please give my video a thumbs up to help support our channel. Share it on your social media to try to, get some laughs and, help other people if they can get past my weird sense of humor. And if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to help us grow. We are very much a heart-centered, heart-based small business, small farm that is basically just trying to share our knowledge with the rest of the collective and basically just want to try to bring things back to light and bring a lighthearted approach to life. Everything's kind of dark and dreary and scary nowadays, and somebody's got to be light. So, you have people like me that are trying their best and doing their thing while, occasionally showing cute animals in the background. So, yeah. Hope you enjoyed. All right. Have a good one, guys.